joining us right now from somewhere around the world. Mike from around the world. Let me ask you about the God of darkness. There was an article that came out, of course, about Apophis, that it's on its way, that it's going to come very close to the earth. And now scientists are saying that the earth's gravitational pull is going to shake violently this asteroid. This asteroid is huge, and it's going to come extremely close. And they believe the violent earthquakes are going to disengage, or it's going to break apart some pieces of it off or whatever. So I've been studying this for 20 years. When it was first discovered in 2004. It's been 20 years. Now we're 4 years away, Friday the 13th. Do you believe, Mike, that there's more to this story? They named it.
Oh yeah.
Can you? Is there anything you can share about this? It's Friday the 13th, April 2029.
Yeah. First of all, they've had a pretty consistent story from the beginning, except the dates, right? And except what it's going to do when it comes back. At first, they said it was going to go through a keyhole. Absolutely. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Here's the problem. You have an object that's gone way out there into space, and it's coming back, right?
Yep.
If it comes back on target based on their calculations, then there's no problem for us other than that. And I say that because there's nothing out there to obstruct that thing.
Okay.
Right? That means it's clear space. Whenever you have something that goes out there and it comes back and it's no problem, then everything is clear, right? Everything is clear. So you can add more time to the timetable. Well, for that. But if that's not true, if we have other gravitational influences, you can forget about that.
Okay,
start worrying about the other things.
Here we go with planet A. Okay, so if we take a binary system, the influence of it and other...
You can't have Apophis.
You can't... Okay, what do you mean?
You cannot... It's going to take it off course. They calculated the return of Apophis based upon its exit, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if there is an external force that is pulling on anything, it will obstruct that trajectory of Apophis. It's not going to follow the same track.
I agree.
It's just not going to do it.
No.
Now, if it does follow the same track, there's nothing out there.
Oh, but it's not following the same track. You know it's not. There is something out there. So you're saying we're going to know a whole lot about what's out there based on what this thing does when it comes by, or if it hits us, or if it... You know.
When it starts coming inbound, when they actually start tracking it, right? Yeah. I mean, close tracking. If they can't find it, well, then we're in for a bad day, right? That means something is very close. Because I'll tell you, everything is like the earthquakes the Earth has been having, right? As a binary star comes closer, it's going to vibrate everything else. Now, this happens very slowly, but it vibrates. That means all the planets should have tectonic or some type of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And it just so happens that they do. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
All of them are vibrating, right?
Yes.
Because when you're looking at size and ratios, that vibration is still going to shake things loose. So they should have the same increase in earthquakes and volcanism as we do. All the planets should. And if once you start tracking that, then you start to see it like, why are they in sync? And that means something else. Now, they also do the same thing. The sun, right? Now, if the sun were separate from the activity of the planets, would be okay. That means that the sun is causing all of this, right? But here's the problem. When the Earth goes through these moments of eruption and earthquakes, and Mars does the same, and even the moon starts vibrating, and things start happening on Venus and all these other planets they can actually track, the sun starts doing it too. So it's not like the sun does it first and then everything else follows. No, the sun does it the same time it happens on the Earth. So the same force is hitting everything
the sun,
at the same
moon,
time.
The Earth, and all the planets, which is what Avi Loeb told me in that interview earlier this past summer, is when he said, we know right where it's at, based on the mathematical calculation of the effect of the gravitational pull on every planet. Every planet, the moon and the sun. We know where it's at. We just can't see it because it's too dark out there. It's too far. It's too dark. But you're saying they're going to study this Apophis. And they did. Matter of fact, they announced right here that as Apophis goes by, they're going to send this spacecraft called NASA's Osiris Apex. This thing is going to follow Apophis for 18 months and observe the face of it to see just how much of the planet has been stripped away, how much is broke off, what changes it to
it would make sense. When you're trying to find out if something has shifted its path, that's when you follow it.
Well, they're going to follow it. They're going to follow it.
That's right. That's when you follow it. When you have to have the calculations exact. Because
are you worried about any pieces of it breaking off or any companion rocks following with it to hit the Earth? Are you
before it comes? To be honest, I'm really not worried about Apophis too much.
Okay,
right? Because of other things. Now, again, there are things that are detectable. It's very difficult to judge distance until we get that first influx hitting the Earth, right?
Meteorites,
the first
asteroids.
Light meteor storm that we have on the Earth. Then the timing to everything else would be okay. So basically, everybody is waiting on that first meteor storm.
Now, that's going to happen before Apophis gets here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you give us a time on
That's
that?
That's the consensus. It's extremely difficult, Pastor Paul, to judge the absolute times because
I understand.
a lot of us were convinced it was going to happen last year. Right.
Okay.
Not this, but last year. And it didn't. It didn't. I mean, we had a slight increase in things that were untrackable, but that wasn't enough to definitely say here it is. No, we're going to know when it's here because we're going to have fires all over the place.
Okay.
Now I can tell you right now, people will see flashes, in the sky, maybe every couple of hours or something like that. It's going to cause a lot of fires. And as you know, we can't deal with fires. So when it starts, everything it'll start to burn. When that happens, then the timing will be a bit more precise. Right. It's very difficult to judge because you have to go through certain regions of space where optics essentially are, you're looking at a redirection of light in some cases, gravitational wells, different forces that you have to navigate out there, which is why the Webb telescope, the J-Wave out there is doing such a good job because it's outside certain fields. They knew with Voyager 1 and 2 that we had something tugging at the entire solar system. And indeed, in the electronics, in the programming of both those craft, you have adjustments for that. Every craft that goes out in space has to make adjustments for specific gravitational pools, right? It even gives, it's for the guys at the better and give the orders at the time, like Elon, he knows why our axis is the way it is. It's pointing at something, right? That's nothing but an offset to a larger gravitational pull, because the Earth's axis is kind of shared with other objects. It's just a shame because the narrative has been controlled by scientists who normally work for other folks in government who protect secrets. And of course, they're not going to publish what's really happening out there. I think they will now. I think it's going to be confusing for some folks. I know for a fact they're going to have to rewrite textbooks because that's what they're talking about now. Some of the lies that have been taught that people, some people think they know about what's out there, but they really don't. And other people can't talk about it because they'll go to jail or, something bad will happen. So now that
Elon Musk?
Trump is not playing, right?
No, he's not playing.
And Elon Musk doesn't give up either, right?
No.
Because if you saw his life story, you'd be like, go Elon, basically.
What do you think so obviously Elon Musk, who's the king of space right now, he knows about Planet X. He knows exactly what's going on in this. He knows something's affecting the entire...
Yeah, he does.
He has to. This guy can take a rocket ship into space and bring it back and drop it right in between arms.
He did everything.
Nobody can
he did everything that... The problem with Elon, because he said all of his heroes let him down. right? He has a
Yeah.
photographic memory.
Yeah, he does.
He can, when he reads something, he can recall it. He can see the picture of it.
Instantly.
So he can remember things really good. And all the astronauts, they would not support him. So, and that made him cry. You know, he cried over that on TV. He did, because that hurt him to his heart.
Because he knew they knew, and yet they wouldn't reveal, and that hurt him.
They wouldn't endorse anything. They wouldn't support what he was trying to do. They said it wouldn't work. But what they were doing by saying it wouldn't work was they were trying to discourage him from ever stumbling on to some of the breakthroughs they have. Because as it turns out, some of these breakthroughs and some of these magical things people see, the science is not that difficult. It's not. They just make it seem difficult. Well, we're humanity. We don't like simple. We have to complicate everything, right? We have to, but things are so simple, right? I guess more complicated it is, more comfortable people are. But Elon is one. He didn't give up, and he stumbled onto things, and he made things work that they said would not work. And so now he has a lot of defense contracts.
Yes,
right?
he
Because
does.
if you can't beat him, you better join him.
Better
so
join
you keep
him.
eyes on him. But now, right, due to his position, things will be uncovered.
Yeah.
But the world's not going to like it. You know, we're going to have to get through some traumatic moments of learning things.
Let's talk about, there's some more things I want to ask you about, but I got to ask you about December 14th again. I mean, let me just tell you what happened. So Heidi and I, we've been inundated with people asking, what does Mike mean by December 14th and all that? Heidi research said, what is going to happen on December 14th everywhere? She searched everywhere. She asked AI. Here's what AI said, Mike. December 14th, 2024 is a date of particular interest because it will mark a solar eclipse, specifically a total solar eclipse. This event will be visible across parts of North America, with the path of totality spanning from the Pacific Ocean through Mexico and parts of the United States and into Central America. Observers along the path of totality will experience the sky darkening as the moon fully covers the sun, creating a striking visual effect. And outside the path of this totality, a partial eclipse will be visible in other regions across North and South America. There will be an opportunity for those interested in astronomy or rare celestial events to witness something special. Mike, there's not a solar eclipse scheduled at all for this day.
No.
So what is AI doing? Is this the full deception, or is that second moon? Is the only thing
Let me see. Let me give you a hint.
Okay.
Because I'm sure your listeners will probably attempt to emulate this. So let me give you a hint. Let me give everybody a hint of something. That should have been response number one. Response number two should be different. That's all I'll say. So that way, because your listeners are going to go out there and use their little AI things to try and find an answer.
Right.
So I just clarified something.
So
I just gave him a piece of information.
This is
just gave him some insight.
Bogus. This is bogus info number one, or is
that's just response number one.
Well, can I ask you? That
should be response number one?
Is the second moon? This is all I could come up with was Heidi. Is the second moon going to get in front of the sun or something that day, or do something?
Well, there are other things that have been in front of the sun, but people don't look up in the daytime. That thing is so small, right? It wouldn't make a difference, even if it did. The other day, something was in front of the sun, and nobody seemed to notice, right? In fact, I believe in a few more days, something else will be in front of the sun.
Are we talking Planet X?
People are not looking.
Are we talking Nibiru, one of the moons?
December 13th, December 14th, right? We're going up to that date.
Yes.
I've named it something. I've named it Babylon's Hour.
Babylon's Hour.
Yeah. That's what I named it. So it should give context to that date. Right? I'm quite serious about that date. So I just named that Babylon's Hour.
Well, that's the beast kingdom here. You're talking now.
Well,
are you moving? So we're not talking space now. Are you moving this thing into more of a political or spiritual Mystery Babylon's Hour? I mean,
that's inclusive of quite a bit because
it's a big
in the Bible at the end, Babylon is it burns.
Yes, it does.
Babylon's is actually the focal point for a time, and everybody sees it, and something happens.
So
I'm just calling that Babylon's hour.
So we're going to take this hint and come back to you next week. That Babylon's hour. So that everybody go do your research. Go do the digging, and we'll be asking Mike a little more about it next.
I'll tell you,
week.
Pastor Paul, something spiritual is happening on this earth to people who have no relationship with Christ. That is mind blowing. Tell me how, right? I mean, unless you witness it, is almost unbelievable. But tell me how people who have not given their life to Christ in America, young people, how in the world of all times would they of all times start to have these dreams about things that even the standard Christian, if you don't look it up, you won't know it, right? Very intimate details that take a lot of time to find the answer to. It's almost like the Lord is starting to reach a whole bunch of folks all at one time, giving them almost like, because these kids, based on what they're saying, are changing their lives. I mean, big time. Imagine a person who is a kind of a rebel, who stops everything, Pastor Paul, and just goes and gets a Bible and locks themselves in a house to get their life right now. And the feedback is always, I'm contemplating my life, my sin, right?
Wow.
So whatever's happening to them, is altering them. In one night, it alters them. This is starting to happen all over the place. I mean, with people you wouldn't suspect. Folks you wouldn't suspect is happening to.
That's true.
There's something is happening big time, and it will continue to build. And it will be a very physical thing here very soon.
All right.
Because the USA, we're still in trouble. Have you noticed the fires taking place?
Yes.
Right?
It's in all the way
places
New
where they
Jersey
shouldn't be.
to California, places it shouldn't be.
Tinder boxes.
Yes.
Tinder boxes.
Yes.
And next week coming up, Florida could have they could have a problem. Right?
We're worried
that storm
about it.
coming up, they could have a problem. That's not the only problem. There are more vortices that they're starting to look at that in another 3 weeks, 2 and 3 weeks could pose an issue, right? So we have weather totally out of season. We've got a special cold event that's going to be forming here very soon, because the parts of the north are not like they used to be. They're just not, due to it almost seems like a even more compression of the jet stream. We're going to have some wild temperature swings.
Cold and wind. Are we going to have high wind and bitter cold?
Very high winds. They're looking for, what is that, 90? They said winds in certain parts of the north this winter could reach, sustained 95 miles an hour.
That's crazy.
Kind of like California the other day, when they were having to bring those fires. It was, I believe they said they had 80. That was sustained winds of above 80. Above 80.
Santa Ana winds.
Same
Santa
thing.
Ana winds over 80 mile an hour with fires burning. And then Colorado had 4.5 feet of snow with 7
from one small system that just ballooned. I mean, it just ballooned. And we're going to have those back to back to back to back to back.
So you're saying it's going to be a really bad winter in the north.
And this when it starts to break, when the temperatures start to change, we're going to see something different. People barely survived. This summer was hot, right?
Yeah, it was hot.
If they think it was hot this summer, they have no clue what we're about to step into.
This has been 3 summers in a row. We're
just getting started.
Are we going to have another real hot summer next year?
We're just getting started.
And you're saying so the winters are going to get colder and windier and bitter, and the summers are going to get hotter and hotter and hotter.
Yeah, this winter is going to be very difficult to track, because I wouldn't be surprised if it go from minus 10 degrees to 80 degrees in one day in certain places.
No, that's not right. I mean,
and Florida won't be saved. They're going to have some pretty low temperatures this year, right? But moisture, that's going to release moisture in the air. We have the problem with the fronts, and the groundwater is still anyway. But all this is part of the change.
Okay,
It's a
so
build-up. Pastor Paul, God bless you. It's always an honor,
all
brother.
right, all right. The honor's mine, Mike. Trust me. Thank you, brother. I love you.
All right.
God bless.
God bless.